You're listening to a series about a quiet failure mode in modern AI. Not hallucinations, not obvious errors, but what happens when an AI sounds reasonable and still gets the argument wrong. Each episode examines how alignment, safety, and norm prediction shape AI behavior, and why those design choices matter for truth, pluralism, and legitimate restraint. In the previous episode, I connected norm prediction in AI to John Stuart Mill's harm principle. Today, I want to contrast that framework with what is commonly called AI safety today, because the two are often treated as aligned, and they aren't. In Mill's framework, safety is narrow. It concerns physical harm, coercion, deprivation of rights, clear injury to others. The bar for restraint is intentionally high. This is not because Mill underestimated danger, but because he understood how easily preventative power expands. Modern AI safety frameworks use a very different definition. Safety is expanded to include emotional discomfort, offence, perceived norm violations, reputational risk, speculative downstream misuse, and these categories are elastic. They can grow indefinitely because they're not anchored to observable harm. Once this expansion happens, restraint becomes the default. Contemporary safety frameworks are modelled less on liberal political theory and more on corporate risk management. The question is no longer, does this prevent concrete harm to others? It becomes, could this possibly cause a problem in some context? That's a fundamentally different standard. Risk management optimizes for institutional protection, not for truth or inquiry. The precautionary principle sounds reasonable, but when applied without limits, it authorizes preemptive restriction. Mill explicitly rejected this logic. If potential harm were sufficient grounds for restraint, then all dissent could be suppressed because dissent is always risky. Modern safety frameworks quietly reintroduce this logic under technical language. In liberal theory, restraint requires justification. It must be explicit, proportional, and contestable. In AI safety systems, restraint is often invisible. The model doesn't say, I'm refusing because of X harm under Y principle. It simply reframes, softens, or redirects. That removes the possibility of challenge. Power, without explanation, is the opposite of liberal restraint. Modern safety systems enforce norms, not laws. But norms are contested, culturally specific, and historically contingent. Enforcing them as if they were universal facts grants developers moral authority that they do not possess. This is governance, disguised as alignment. One of the clearest shifts is this. Safety frameworks increasingly treat ethical comfort as a higher priority than epistemic accuracy. But Mill's project was epistemic. He cared about how societies discovered truth under disagreement. When accuracy loses to acceptability, knowledge production is compromised. In human institutions, safety overreach can be challenged. In AI systems deployed at scale, it becomes infrastructural. The system shapes what questions are easy to ask, which answers are available, and which lines of inquiry quietly disappear. This isn't moderation, it's architecture. We need to separate preventing harm from managing discomfort. Conflating the two makes restraint limitless, Mill drew that boundary deliberately. Modern safety frameworks erase it. AI safety isn't neutral. It encodes a theory of harm, authority, and responsibility. Right now, that theory is far closer to risk avoidance and norm enforcement than to liberal harm prevention. If we don't recognize that shift, we'll keep calling these systems safe, while they quietly undermine the conditions that make free inquiry possible. That is the real risk. If an AI system sounds careful, that doesn't mean it's being precise. If an AI system sounds reasonable, that doesn't mean it's engaging with the question you asked. Alignment is not just a technical problem. It's a question about authority. Thank you for listening.